Hi everyone. So we will be continuing with our module for Java programming, and this is for the course EC312 Object Oriented Programming. So we'll be referring the textbook Object Oriented Programming using CPP and Java by E. Balaguruswamy. So this is lecture 2. So we'll be giving a bit more overview of Java. So in Java or in any programming language, there is something called as a keyword and an identifier. So a keyword is something which is already defined in that programming language. These are like a reserved words. In Java or C, CPP, in with Python, whichever language you take, there are some words which are already reserved in that programming language. For example, if you take int score, so int is a data type and it carries the 32-bit number. So this int is already being defined in the programming language, and a compiler can understand that particular word. So this is a reserved word. So this is called as a keyword. While if you see score, so you are declaring a variable called as score. So that is your definition, um, and the name of that definition is score. So this is called as an identifier. So you cannot use keywords as variable names. For example, if you use for is actually a loop in Java programming. So you cannot declare something like int for, because for is already a keyword and you are trying to declare it as your variable, which the Java syntax will not permit you. Similarly, like you can't declare as a while as a variable, it is a keyword too. So keywords which are used in programming to perform any type of functionality is a keyword. So there are around 53 words which are decided as keywords in Java programming. So these are 50 of them. So if you look at these words, most of the words are familiar to the program, like class. So if you want to declare a class, then you say class space the class name. So that class is a keyword. So you can't define a variable name or an identifier as class. Similarly, if is an if condition statement. For is a for loop. Switch case, in that case, is a keyword. Similarly, void, if you are returning, if you are not returning anything from a function, you declare it as void. So void is a keyword. Short is a data type, int is a data type, long is a data type, float is a data type, double similarly another data type. And there is access specifiers. Public is an access specifier, protected, private, these are all access specifiers, so they are keywords. Package is another keyword. Return is a statement when you return a function, that's a keyword. While, volatile, byte, const, all are keywords. So this 50 of them are keywords. Along with 50 of them, there are another 3 which is boolean, null, etc. So that also, it's advisable not to define it as an identifier or a variable name. So now coming to identifiers. So identifiers are those defined by the programmer. So they are mainly used for naming objects, classes, methods, variables, labels, packages, and interfaces. So if when you name a class space my class, so that my class is called as an identifier. Or else if you name a data type, if you name a variable with data type, for example double my variable, so that my variable is actually a identifier. So something that you define for your convenience to use in program is an identifier. Now, but there are some rules which you should follow when you are naming an identifier. So first and foremost, you can have an alphanumeric character. Alphanumeric means an alphabet or a number. So the alphabet can be either small letter or capital letter. Number, you can use $sign, you can also use underscore. Apart from this, you cannot use any other characters in your identifiers. For example, var at. So at is not suggested to be used in identifier. So if you use this var at, then the compiler will throw you an error saying that this is not an identifier. So because of the special character, you cannot use. But you can use 2 special characters. One is dollar, another one is underscore. Next one, identifier should not start with a digit. So you cannot name an identifier as one my var. So you are starting with a number which is prohibited. You can only start with an underscore or a dollar sign or any of the alphabets. It can be the capital letter or a small letter. And Java identifiers are case sensitive. So if you declare my var with capital M and my var with small m, both are two different identifiers, so they will be treated differently. And optionally, like the, the Java programming, you can define an identifier with a maximum of 15 letters. 4 to 15 letters is a normal, but you can still define the higher length identifiers, but it is not advisable. And then the most important, you cannot use a keyword as an identifier. For example, int while is equal to 20. Here while is a keyword because you are using while in a while loop, while of something, some condition. So that while is something that is understood by the compiler automatically without you defining for it. So that is a keyword, and you cannot use a keyword as an identifier. So let's try out an exercise. So among this, there are 5 identifiers being declared. Among this, which one you feel is incorrect, that we cannot define? So if you look at the first one, int my underscore var. So in that one, you can see you are using only alphabets, and there is an underscore which is permitted, which means it is okay. If you look at the next one, class my class, again if you are using only alphabets and you have small letter and capital letter, that is fine. So this is also fine. Next one, say void first func of int a comma int b. So here if you look at the function name, you are starting with a alphanumeric character, or sorry, you are starting with a number. Starting with a number is not permitted as an identifier. So this is wrong. Should not start the function name with a number. Next one, double while var. So here if you look, the while is there as a keyword, but it is not a standalone word. It is with another 3 letters. So this whole thing, the while var, is not a keyword. If you had declared only while, then it was a keyword and it would not be permitted. But since you are declaring the variable with a keyword, and the keyword has something extra, like it is, if you look at it as a complete word, it is not a keyword. So this is fine. But for the last one, long for is a keyword, and keyword is declared as it is in like an identifier, which it is not permitted. So let's look at a sample program. So whenever you start a programming, you always try to print the simplest of all the programs, which is hello world. You try whether you can print a hello world, what are things that you need to look to print a hello world. So this is a simple hello world program. So this program prints hello world, that's all, nothing else. So if in a Java program, everything should be inside a class, because Java is like a pure or true object oriented language. So everything must be placed inside a class. So here we are placing inside a class sample whatever we want to do. So our aim is to print a hello world, and we have defined everything inside the class to print hello world. So let's look step by step. So class sample. So class is a keyword, and you are declaring or defining a class with name sample. So class space sample will declare a class with name sample. So class is a keyword, sample is the identifier, and class should be inside 2 braces, an opening brace and a closing brace. So whatever is inside this will be your class definition. Here every Java program should have one and only one main function, and that main function will be defined inside a class. So the definition of main method is defined here. Every Java application must include the main method. So every Java application, you should have one main method, and this is a starting point of interpreter to begin the execution of the program. So when you compile and interpreter start executing, it will first jump to the main code or the main program, and then it will start executing from there. So it is a starting point of execution. Java application can have any number of classes, but only one of them must include main method. So I can define another class in below which says class sample2, and I can define many functions and variables inside the class, but that class should not contain another main function. The main function should be there only in one class. And but you can have multiple classes, but they should have different methods. So if you look at that statement for the main function, you say public. So public is an access specifier, just like in C++. So this declares the main method as unprotected, means anybody can access the main method even if it is outside the class. So if you define something outside this class, you try to access main, you can access. It makes the main method accessible to all classes. So whatever classes you define outside this class, you can still access the main method. Next is important one. You are declaring main as static. Now static declares a method to belong to the whole class and not to any particular object of the class. So usually when you declare a method inside a class, if you want to access that method, you need to create an object of this method and access. But if you declare a method as static, you can directly access the method using just the class name. You don't want to create a object. So the main method should always be declared as static, and you should check out why it is like that, why the main method should be declared static, and it has something to do with compiler and interpreter. And again, so the function is main. The function should have a return type and input arguments. Your main function is not going to return anything, so it is void. And main is the method name. The input argument is given in the round brackets. Here the input argument is string arguments, an array of arguments. So string is a keyword now here, which is absent in C or CPP. So in Java they defined a class called as string, and string usually takes, as the name suggests, like you can type the full character. Basically it's a character array. So you can pass an argument of array of objects of class string. So that is which is passed here, and this is our print function. So in CPP we have cout. The system.out.println is equivalent to our cout function. So if you look at system, so why do we want to define a system.out.println? So what is this system, what is this out, and what is this println? So basically if you look at dot, whenever you say dot something of a function, basically it means that you are having an object and object dot the method. So similarly here this is out is an object and object dot a method defined in the, so system is a class, you are getting an object of that class, that is out, and there is a method inside that object which is println. So you are accessing the method println from the object out in the system, in the class system, and you say hello world. That is being passed as an argument to the method println, which will print the value being passed as the parameter. That is a simple hello world program. Let's look at a bit more complicated program. So finding the square root of a number. So this is a simple program to find the square root of a number. We will look into some of the statements that we haven't looked in the hello world. So we will see why those statements are, and we are going to give a structure to the Java program. So that structure will be maintained all through the course. So first one, that is the comment. So before starting any program, you should say what this program is for. You can also put the date and all that and etc. But at least you should mention what the program is for. So that is mentioned using a comment. So this comment can be in / block or / block. So this comment will not be executed by the compiler or interpreter. So this is only for a user's sake. Like for example, when I'm reading the code, I might not be knowing this Java code at all. But if you read the comment, then you will be able to understand what this code does. So that is why the comments are there. And commenting is an important step in any programming, which usually people ignores, but it is very, very important, because you might be writing a code somebody else might be reading, that person will be having a hell of a time in understanding the code. But instead, if you have put necessary comments in wherever statements or wherever logic you have invented, it will be easy for any other person to read. Or if you are reading this code after 2 or 3 years, you might not be, you might not have recollected what you have done. So in that scenario, commenting is more important. So commenting is as important as coding. So you can do commenting in Java as double slash or slash star. Slash star is called as a block comment because you can do it in multiple lines. Double slash is called as a double slash is not a block comment. It is like single line comment. So moving forward, so the first statement is package my pack, which says that this program belongs to a package named as my pack. So I might have declared or might have generated this package my pack somewhere else, but I'm saying that, okay, if there is a package called as my pack, I'm going to put this program in that package. So you can define your own package, or you can include this program to any of the existing package, like even if it is defined by the Java program. That is the first statement. Second statement is pretty important, in which we are saying it import java.lang.math. So our program is basically to find out the square root of the number. Now if you want to find the square root of the number, you don't have the necessary functionalities in your program to find the square root. So there is already a square root method defined somewhere else in the Java. So you are going to include that method into this your program, for which you are using the keyword import. So import means you are importing a class or a particular method or the complete package itself into this program. So when you say import java lang.math, you are basically importing the class called as math, which is present in the package lang, which is in the Java program. So you are importing, so if you want to import the complete package lang, you can just say java.lang.star. So it will import the complete package lang, and it might have many number of classes. So here we are importing only that particular class, which is math. Now why we are importing? Because we are having a function called as sqrt in this class called as math, which can be used to find the square root of the number x. And then we are declaring two variables, x and y, which are both double, and then x is assigned a value 5. And then here when you do the class math.sqrt, which is a method inside math, and you pass the x as argument, the sqrt method will calculate the square root of x. It will return it to y, and y will have now the output. So you can print y, which will give the output of square root of x. So it is important note here that import statement might be there in almost all your programs of Java, because there might be many scenarios in which you might to use a third party or something which is already defined in Java in your program, so that it will make your life easier. Okay, so this is the program for square root of a number. So now we can define something called as a basic program structure. If you look at this code, you can see that first you have a comment, which you can say is a documentation section. Then you have something called as a package section. Then you have something called as an import section, and you can also have something called as an interface section that we'll look at later. Then we have a class definition. So you say like this is a class in which the main function is defined. You can have another class before this class in which you haven't defined a main function, so that is optional. But you should always have this class in which the main function is defined, otherwise the program will not run. So when you generalize this, you can see that there is a documentation section, which is the comments. It's a package statement. When you say package space, to which package you want to put this program into. Then you have an import statement where you say I want to import this particular class and this particular class or this particular package to my program, so that I can run the program or I can execute the program using the imported classes or methods inside the imported classes. Then I can have an interface statement. Interface statement we'll be discussing later. That's an optional one. Then we have class definitions. So these class definitions will not have the main function. So this is general class definitions where you might be defining many methods and variables to ease the functionalities. But the essential part, all these things are optional, but the essential part is you should have a main method class definition. So there is a class in which you have defined a main method. So that is the complete Java program structure. So these are some questions. You can try to answer them, and this might help you in understanding the lecture much more easier. Okay, thank you.